Hi, welcome to my channel. I'm writing a text-based role-playing game and need a story for the adventure. What do the adventurers want? Why do they want it? What is keeping them from getting it? I want to talk about the article, How to Write the Best D&D Adventure Ever, written by James, I'm going to slaughter this name, Haeck, H-A-E-C-K, because he breaks this general question into parts. The first part is, incorporate what you love. Writing is driven by passion. What stories are you the most passionate about? The Matrix? Dune? Lord of the Rings? What is it about them that you love? I love Tolkien's universe, so I would probably borrow his idea of a ring that would grant the wearer amazing powers, but was incredibly evil and so would eventually corrupt the wearer. That's a terrific concept. You can borrow the idea of the One Ring for your story. Many have. There's nothing wrong with that. After your script goes through a few edits, the ring will likely have changed sufficiently that it's no longer Tolkien's One Ring. After all, if you don't have Sauron, Gandalf, Frodo, and Sam, as well as the other rings of power, the rings that the One Ring is bound to, it will be a different ring. It will be a different story. But definitely, if you're going to publish your story, make sure you've made the concept uniquely yours. Otherwise, just use your script for a private game between friends. Or forget Lord of the Rings. That's my favorite story. It may not be yours. Maybe what you loved about Dune, say, was the idea of adventuring through a beautiful yet extremely deadly environment. And it makes sense that the foes and friends one meets would be shaped, by which I mean radically transformed, by the environment, like the sandworms that produce the spice that is essential for interstellar travel. Let me just talk a little bit about mixing and matching. If you don't already have a developed concept, picking ideas, environments, and characters from different stories can often spark an idea, or at least that has been my experience. For example, item, the One Ring. Environment, the desert in Frank Herbert's book Dune. Character, Neo from the Matrix. That's just an example. You could also do item, the Red Pill from the Matrix. Environment, Rivendell from Lord of the Rings. Character, Paul Atreides from Dune. But let's step through this. What do the adventurers want? The desire. Let's go with Paul Atreides. While Paul was visiting another land, an ancient magical artifact was stolen from his family. He must either retrieve the artifact or destroy it. Why do the adventurers want it? These are the stakes. The artifact is the source of Paul's family's power. Right now, all the great houses are relatively balanced in terms of power. If Paul fails, the rival house that has the artifact will be able to overthrow any of the other houses. And without the artifact, his family will be helpless to stop them. What is keeping the adventurers from getting what they desire? This is the obstacle. We could say that the head of the rival house is a powerful wizard. He hasn't yet been able to tap into the power of the artifact, but he is very powerful. Also, he commands an army, as well as a group of trained assassins who are loyal only to him as the lord of his realm. You get the idea. So this brings us to our second point. The what? Exploration, interaction, and combat. What would you like to do in this adventure? Would you like to explore new areas? Here you could do things like look for traps, find and solve puzzles, and so on. You could explore strange new lands. Or maybe the thing that's important to you is interacting with new environments and quirky characters. New environments bring new languages, new kinds of puzzles, new terrain that causes new challenges. New characters have information or disinformation for the party. Perhaps they will even join the party for a while and then betray you at the worst possible time. Combat. Sometimes your friends will just want a good, meaningful, challenging fight. Obviously, exploring, interaction, and combat are interrelated. Combat against a foe is more enjoyable, it's more meaningful if it takes place in a unique and challenging area, and if it is against a powerful foe who stands, perhaps figuratively, between a player's character and the goal they seek. Now we come to point number 3, where? Situations. Which of these 3 things Whether exploration, interaction, or combat is the most important to your group, that's going to influence the kind of adventure you create. For example, a dungeon crawl might be more heavy on combat than exploration or interaction, but these elements, of course, still need to be closely integrated into the story in order for it to be engaging. I'm not going to go into this in any depth, but here are a few situations you might want to explore. The wilderness, a dungeon, a palace or a castle, a cave, a town or city. So, number 4, the story. I'm a fan of the 3-act structure. So basically, Act 1 is 0 to about 25% of the story. Act 2 takes up most space, it's half the story, taking us from 25% to 75%, and then finally, and predictably, Act 3 goes from 75% to 100%. Act 1 is the setup, Act 2 is the journey, and Act 3 is the payoff. Let's go over this in more detail. Act 1, setup. In the setup, we want to introduce the characters and explore their backstories. We want to introduce a plot hook. Give your characters a hook into the story. Perhaps an assassin tries to kill one of your party members as they relax in a tavern. They are wearing the ring of a band of assassins that works for an influential noble house. Or perhaps they attack an NPC who hires you to find out who wants her dead and why. At the end of Act 1, there could be a guardian standing between the group of adventurers and the area they want to enter, for example, a dungeon. This brings us to Act 2, the journey. The group of adventurers enter into a special world, a different world. This is where the situation comes in. You enter the wilderness, the dungeon, the palace, the cave, and so on. Characters. Your party will likely meet one or more characters in whatever situation you've chosen. Perhaps a guide or someone searching for an artifact, maybe the Ark of the Covenant. That side quest could lead you to a special place where an ancient prophet sits, someone who can give you necessary information, or maybe something you need to complete your quest. This is the 50% mark. From now on, you're rushing toward the finish. There should be a series of increasingly severe setbacks until everything looks hopeless. But then, just when things are darkest, the hero realizes they can use a piece of information or an object in a new way. An NPC might prompt this insight. This brings us to Act 3, the final fight. The group now have all the items and information they need to finish the adventure. Rewards. This is where the members gain experience and possibly items. JH, in his fabulous article, breaks down a 5-room dungeon crawl. If you are seriously considering writing an adventure, it's a great article to read. So, point number 5, putting it all together. Speaking as a player, maps are good. Now that you have an idea how you want the adventure to go, even if it is only the barest outlines, you have something to drape your story over. Now is the time to fill your map, whether it is taking place in the wilderness or a dungeon or wherever, and fill it with the terrain that makes sense to you. JH mentions traps, terrain, and monsters, and of course don't get too attached to your version of events, your version of the story. Run through it with a group of friends, and if something isn't working, and I guarantee you there will always be something that doesn't work, change your story. One of the truly awesome things about role-playing games is that the players get to make the final decisions. As JH writes, no plan ever survives contact with the PCs. So true. That's it. I hope some part of this, something I shared, encourages you to create and run an adventure. Thank you for listening. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you have, please give it a like and consider subscribing. Thank you so much. Have a great day.